So how can you derive currents if you don't have any observations? Any direct observations like moorings that can measure currents and so on. Isn't it tricky? How do you derive currents? In particular, near the equator, it becomes very complicated because there's no Coriolis force. So in other regions, you can use the method of estimating the surface currents from the slope of the sea surface. Okay, so what's shown here is actually the currents derived from ship tracks, from the tracks of ships, okay, where if you know the speed and direction of a vessel in the absence of currents, you can work out the residual effect of the currents from looking at the difference of the observed drift from the estimated drift effect without currents. And this is what's done here. You can use ship tracks to estimate the effect. So now you can see here for two different seasons. So essentially the southern hemisphere summer season is in the top figure and the winter season is in the bottom figure. You can see the change. And you can see at the equator it's a very, very dominant, strong current from east to west along the equator. And that then even turns northward across the equator. Just this. However, there's also a counter current. You can see the counter current, which is illustrated here by the red arrows, which goes into the opposite direction and which in August becomes very pronounced. And you can also see here in terms of the length, you can work out what is the speed of the flow. Take the arrow, put it onto the scale, and you can see, oh, it's something like up to 50 centimeters per second. So there are these very important information if you want to travel across the equator in the Atlantic Ocean. So if you plan another trip with your grandma, you know, with your inflatable, and you start in February and you want to actually go from west to east and shit happens, you can't do it. Okay, because you can. It's a little bit tricky in August too, because you have to get into this counter current region. Anyway, so you can do quite a bit from ship tracks, in particular if you're at in the equatorial region where you don't have a detailed methods that you can use to derive satellites, derive the. Okay. All right.